Namaste everyone and welcome back to the Spake Satguru Sivananda. We are here with Nana and with another quote of Guru Garu. I will share the quote and then Nana will explain about the meaning, the context of it. There we go. Praying without worship is not the right approach to God. Prayer is supplemented and strengthened by worship. Over to you, Nana.
Namaste, everyone. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Today's quote seems to be very simple. Just prayer and worship. These two are the two concepts. Prayer also forms part of worship. Worship without prayer, it has no meaning. Similarly, prayer without worship has no meaning according to Guruji. So why these two things have come now? It's very simple English language, the words used by Guruji. Nothing complicated, and it doesn't need much explanation just to have the meaning of that, the literal meaning of this sentence. But what is the background of this? So now we see prayer and worship both going together at one point of time. And later, these two are looked as separate things, and prayer has its own way, the worship has another way. So why should we worship God? The very basic question. Why should we worship God? That means that we are expecting something from God. From what we have, we are not content. Maybe insufficient the things, and maybe you may be needing some more. That's about needs. And are we just worried about our needs? But we have desires which are not needs. So for desires, I think you have to work out. What kind of desires you have? Desires are so many. You can make a distinction in the desires, among the desires, the groups of desires. One is leading to your personal satisfaction and happiness. And the other, you may also feel happy by seeing others happy. These two things are two different things. One, you are selfish in a way, you are praying God for your promotion or for your welfare, for your health and all that. And if you go a step further, you are also worried about the world, about the humanity, about the other animals, about the creatures, about the environment. So if you go on looking for these things, there is no end. Similarly, even for other desires, there is no end. If it is for you, there is no end to your personal desires. You wanted something now. If that is fulfilled, you want to have something more. If that is okay, then you will be asking some other desire. So we have desires, innumerable desires, and unending desires coming up. So why does this desire come? Is the basic question. Why are you getting desires? And on desires, Guruji says that, Gautam Buddha has given his experience of realization with regard to the world and you are living in the world. What he says, for all the problems, everything, it is only the desire. This desire is going to give you maybe a temporary happiness, but it may also lead you to a sorrow. So he generally, in Buddhism, we say, desiring is nothing like inviting sorrow. So you don't desire anything. What does it invite? Again, there is a limitation on that. If you have no desire at all, then your journey ends there. You are still there. You are not moving anywhere. You don't feel like any need to move anywhere. So there is no question of progress or there is no question of digress. So you are there like a rock. So that problem also comes, which Gautam Buddha has not dealt. Because he was only concerned with the human beings at the time. Those who know are in the jar, in the net of these desires. And those satisfied, again, they have some more desires. If they wanted 1 lakh, even after that they wanted 10 lakhs. After that they wanted 1 crore. The same desire being extended from step to step. So when we go into history, because we are here we are not looking into spiritual explanation of all that. In our Dharmic deities, we are only looking at the problem from the historical point of view. We are only looking at the historical analysis and trying to understand how this desire has come. So we have seen this in the earlier quotes, where the entire Brahmanda has come for the sake of those souls which were in dark, to bring them into Brahmanda, have their life experience, and then they should strive for the next step to go. This is what we call evolution. This evolution is again split into two. The soul's evolution contains about the physical evolution and also the spiritual evolution. As far as our concern, as far as we are concerned, spiritual evolution of the soul is meaningless. There is nothing like that. Soul is already evolved. But here soul is interacting with the matter, with the world. So here, the evolution of this soul has to realize that because it is tangled in the world, in the globe, in the Brahmanda, which is catching him not to move further. So in this process, earlier we have seen in the Krita Yuga and up to almost the end of Treta Yuga, that people were separated. People in the sense with 3 gunas, because every man is made of 3 gunas. And every living being, even if it is animal or anything, they have this gunas. The whole world is made of 3 gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Earlier there used to be the jivas who only belong to Tamas, only belong to Rajas, only belong to Sattva. It doesn't mean that 100% Sattva. There is nothing like that. It's a proportion. There may be 60, 20, or 20, or 60, 30, 30, or 30, 60, 60, something like that. The proportions they differ, and the jivas have come into the fold. But here, the same gunas always work in all our works, in all our desires, in all our lives. So these three gunas Were earlier, they were separate in the sense with little proportions. And by Treta Yuga, not much. But by Dwapara, because we have seen the end of Dwapara, where everything was Ahankara. Ahankara was projected. And it led to a great war also. So these things have become complicated. And when you come to Kali, the entire thing has been gathered here, and all kinds of mixtures have taken place. Even in the same house, you have Rajas, you have Tamas dominated souls, and also Sattva dominated souls. Even in one family. Earlier, there used to be families separate. But now, even in one family, this. Not only that, even a single individual is sattvic at times, tamasic at times, and rajasic at times. So even an individual is influenced by these gunas at one particular point of time. So it also differs. So that was the complicated mixture of these three gunas. So earlier, when there were sattvic, and sattvic people were there, what was the need for them to do worship and all that? Because he has very limited desires, not even desires, it's only needs he might be having. Sitting a riverside, having a small parnashala and staying there, doing some tapas. What kind of tapas, we don't know. Some of them have done tapas for the sake of Veda Vijnana. They have brought Veda into us. It was only in the Krita Yuga. But by Treta Yuga, some were mixed. Some were also involved in the day-to-day life of man. We have very good examples, Vasishtha and Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra is concerned with the society also. After he got evolved himself. That's more important. If you are interested in the society, you must think of you should get it. You should get the evolution. You should get the realization. You see, Buddha, after realization, he went out into the society. He wanted to preach the society. So all the prophets did the same thing. They had some realization and then they have gone into the society. So in the Dwapara, there were only some sort of rishi sages who were not doing any tapas for the Vedas to come. It ended only Treta Yuga. Krita Yuga more and Treta Yuga less. Because there was Bharadwaja Rishi at that time. So some people have done this work continued. But by the time of Dwapara, because this Veda which has come up, it has not been worked out further by the sages. So that was the reason why Vyasa had made all this knowledge available before him and then analyzed it and classified it and presented it to us. So we do not find any kind of having a desire and seeking the satisfaction from a god or the boons from God. Rakshasas ask for boons because they are tamasic. They were only selfish. They were tamasic. They might have done tapas and they have misused tapas. That we have already discussed earlier. Similarly, yajna has come. In yajna concept also the same thing had happened. Earlier it was done for sattva guna, and later it has turned out the tapasic. And so Krishna dissuaded people from doing yajna. And he introduced this bhakti. But bhakti, a pale bhakti, how far does it take us? But he suggested that you live surrendering entire thing to your God and just lead the life. If there's such a case, where are the desires? There is the question of desires. You cannot have any desire. You cannot seek any satisfaction. You cannot seek any boon from God. You have to just live. Just live. So that is again a sattvic type of living, leaving everything to God. But in the same way, because there we find slowly a worship is introduced. Worship was not there earlier in this fashion. Worship is introduced only after Krishna proposed your relationship with God, so that you can ask God and get the things done. Earlier, it was also there in yajnas and tapas, but no, that was not extended to each and every common man. But in Dwapara, it has become a necessary thing, a proposal for all the common people, as Buddha has done later. So this is meant for all common men, because all common men are now mixture of these three gunas, equally or with small proportions. The difference of proportion, the small difference of proportions. So everybody has to not only believe in God, but they have to worship. So the question of worship came at this point. And we see almost this worship has come in the form of vratas. Most of these vratas, all these things have come only during the close or early beginning of early Kali Yuga, early phase of Kali Yuga. So in every vrata, they say that Parvati Devi requests her husband, Shiva, to suggest anything for crossing over the problems in the households. So all these Shravana Mangalavaras, this and this, Kedara Vrata, all these vratas. With those vratas, the formal kind of worship has started. So these vratas continue. Later, when you are thinking that there is a God who is the Almighty and who looks after everything, then you have a connection with God, and you thought that, unless you pray Him, it's not possible. Because here, even in vratas, there is no individual prayer. All these vratas were done or performed in a community. It was only a community worship. Wherever you see the vratas, they invite all people of the community, and they all collectively sit at one place, and then they do vrata. But now it has been reduced to an individual affair. In household, we are doing vratas. We are not going for collective. So now, earlier we used to ask for the welfare of the community in which you also live. If the community is benefited, you are also benefited. Either you may call Satyana Vrata or Shravana Masa Vrata, Varalakshmi Vrata, all these vratas, all those who participated, they are benefited. That's what the story goes. But now here, you are simply sitting in your house and doing vrata for yourself. So again, the selfish narrowness has entered into worship. So this is one thing. And a number of worships have come. And in the course of time, when you have bhakti, as Krishna proposed, bhakti with whom? So not only you are keeping somebody before you. So you have developed a relationship. And he is like you. He has 2 hands or 4 hands, or whatever it may be, just a human form. And you imagine. And you do Shodopachara Puja, thinking that God is sitting there in person as a guest. You are inviting Him, keeping Him there, and then serving Him. And after that, you are putting up your desire. So this is the present practice of doing vratas. And when you have somebody to invite, somebody to sit, somebody to grant you, personally you are making a request to him, then you thought that it is something like, no, you should do something for him, and do service to him, puja to him. Puja is only service to God. So you are doing in this form, and then you think that you are qualified to ask for some boon. So this is how you want to please God and then get the boon from him. Guruji says, it is something like a commercial enterprise. So you are giving him some coconuts, breaking coconuts and this and that, and then offering some prasada and giving arati and all that. And you have to please him as we please our guest who has come to us. So you have to please him. And then in that pleasure, you are putting up your desire. So it is something like a give and take. So you think that, God is happy when he is served. So worship has this concept. And again, if you go further, this is of course a little bit, because you are at least doing something in the name of God. But another thing is prayer. So prayer is again a form of bhakti. We have Mira bhajans, Tyagaraja bhajans, this and they are prayers only. And this prayer could be for your soul's evolution or could be for the gratification, whatever it may be, but you are praying him. So this prayer, just praying him that you have a desire, fulfill that desire. So will that be answered? Why should it be answered? Why God, has to go against the destiny and give you this? Here is the question. It's a very big question. That is, why is he? Because God, if you think an almighty one and then he doesn't have any gunas, he's beyond these gunas. He's not having any gunas. He's somewhere or he is everywhere, whatever it may be. But how can you please him with what you have at your disposal? You get some fruits and give. From where the fruits have come? From where the flowers have come? From where the prasada has come? With the same Brahmanda. Brahmanda belongs to him. So what is that, you are presenting him? It's only for personal satisfaction. We say we give this. And we think that God is also, he also likes this and then he grants you the boon. Just because you have read about 1,000 names of him and stotras about him. These are the prayers, stotras, 1,000 names, all the stotras. So by stotra, will the God be happy? As human beings we do, because we praise somebody and then we'll make him happy and then get something done by him. Is that the God and Bhakta's relationship? Is that common relationship? Is that very ordinary relationship? So here, along with prayer has nothing. At least, in worship, you are offering something and you are making him sit comfortably and all that. But here in prayer, you are not doing anything, just praying. So we have some religions now also, which just pray. So if you pray, why God should come? Why God should respond? Mere prayer has nothing to do with your strong desire, because here your desire must be strong. Your desire based by prayer, that should be very strong. It should be strengthened, because Guruji says, worship supplements and strengthens your desire, your request. So this shows that how much you are involved in this, how much you are concerned with this, how fervently you are asking for the desire. So this is a wonderful quote. In the sense, all common people, just like us, have to think about whether we should ask the God something or we should not ask anything. Not asking anything is also not correct. You should ask something, a desire, which is desirable. And you should not ask the other desires, which are temporary. Something like chocolates. So he says that you have to make a distinction. And when you think that God has not responded to you, God may respond to you for your desires, but the way you are approaching Him should be a fervent appeal associated with some of your way of presenting to Him, not the things which are there by we have the Kayaka tapas, we have pilgrimages, we have this and that. All these things are also associated with this worship. So you should go with all these things and fervently request Him. And even then, God also, whatever the request you are making, they should be scrutinized. They will be scrutinized. And a desirable desire will be given to you if you have a guru. So here you are concentrating on guru, not on God. God can give anything, but He doesn't look into whether your desire is correct or not. Even if you say that by keeping my hand on anybody else, he should be burned. So that would again come to us. So similarly, God is not concerned with that, with any of your desires. Even Rakshasas got wounds. Similarly, if you are a common man, you are just asking for common desires. Even in the common desires are mostly controlled by the destiny. There is a part of destiny and faith. We may come to them later. Now we will stop here. I think on worship also, we have to say so many things, but we will come in this case in the another quote which comes nearer to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nana. Beautifully explained. I liked the way you started. You started how, desires would lead to suffering is the statement or the main theme of Buddhism. And which is true in several ways. Yes, sometimes we feel it is the desires which is actually leading us to all the suffering we are experiencing in life. But I never came across this point that you said, that if there are no desires, then there's no progress. It is static. And Jagat is something that the whole meaning of Jagat is that which moves. So if there are no desires and there is no movement, whether it is downwards or upwards, if we are not evolving or moving, then there's no point of Jagat. That is quite interesting point you have raised. And about bhakti as well. Bhakti is also a form of worship, but we usually see with Meera bhajans and all, we see that it's more of a prayer than worship. But then we do tend to forget that even Meera was doing worship apart from doing the singing or the prayer. So we sometimes get missed.
That is meant for us. That is meant for us. If you just go on singing kirtanas, then that's not the end.
Yes, that's not the end.
Do
So
it
it has
with
to be
worship,
supplemented
associated
by
with worship.
worship. Yes. Thank you so much, Nana. Thanks for all the insights you have given on this quote. So I will see you again tomorrow. And thank you everyone for joining, and see you all tomorrow.